Hey y'all, I'm Tammy, and this is Collard Valley Cooks, and today we're making my braised chuck roast out of the third cookbook. It makes a biscuit sop and gravy in the bottom, and I'm going to show you how to make it. Okay, we're going to start out peeling a carrot, and these are going to go in for flavor. We're actually going to strain this broth at the end of the cook, okay? So these are not the vegetables that will cook in there with the roast, but we will add some later, okay? But I'm putting fresh herbs and stuff in it, so we'll strain out the broth before we cook this roast. So what you're going to do is just peel a carrot and chop it in a few pieces just for flavor in the broth. Move this out of the way. So we're going to add celery and onion and garlic. We're going to be adding a few good things today. I'm going to leave these greens in it because they'll taste good and be pretty. So that flavors the roast. And then you got an onion, and this is a Badia onion. We're going to cut it in big pieces. So let me take out this outer peel. Woo, I'm in the mood for a roast, and they've been expensive, and I think this one was $5.99 a pound, which is pretty good for a chuck roast, so I got me one. Chris actually picked it up when he was at the grocery store. So there's our onion. And now I'm going to go ahead and peel my garlic since we're prepping everything at one time. May as well. Oh, this one's a lot of little ones. That's not good. That'll take me forever. Let's reach in here and get another garlic clove. Try to find a bigger one. That's the end of it. Well, garlic had a lot of little ones. Maybe that one, it's not one combined with a bunch of, oh yeah, this is a good clove finally. All right, well, here's this garlic clove, and whenever you use a garlic clove and you're going to season something, you really need to smash it good to bring out those juices and flavors. So after you peel it, just put it down and take the side of your knife and smash it. And that way all those flavors will be in your roast. All right, we got some fresh basil and rosemary from the garden. I told you you can also use dried or freeze-dried. Of course, whatever you got's fine. But we had some in the garden, so we're using it. And I want to just chop this a little bit to bring out some of the oils and flavor. And I don't have to worry so much about these stems because I'm going to strain the broth. I don't know why I'm peeling it off. We'll just leave it in there. There's our herbs. Now, the only thing left is we're going to be using some beef stock, quarter stick of butter, a quarter cup of butter, which is a half stick, some Worcestershire, and some garlic powder. And this is roasted garlic powder by Badia, B-A-D-I-A. All right, and we're about ready. I'm going to turn on this braiser and go ahead and let it start heating up because we're going to brown our roast, and then I'll add all this good stuff to it. All right, and I'll talk about the braiser in a minute. So you're just going to salt and pepper your roast really good. You can use kosher salt and coarse ground pepper, or you can use regular. I've grabbed the regular. And I've already seasoned the other side good. And so now we're just browning it in our skillet. So you're just going to season it and then put some flour on it and make sure it's coated good. And you don't have to have a lot of excess flour on it or it'll just make a mess in the skillet and burn while you're trying to brown your roast. All right. And this is not a big roast. It's just enough for me and Chris. We're not feeding a whole family, just me and Chris. It's a good thing about when the roast is expensive, at least you're not having to feed a bunch of people if there's just two of you, like us. So we're going to put a little olive oil in here. Now this braizer's on the website. If you go to the website and you go to the top, there's a tab that's called Shop Kitchen. You can pull down and hit cookware, and you will find the same braiser that's for sale on there. It's real reasonable. Now I have some other braisers that are more expensive, but I try to use this one when it's in stock so that you guys can get it. My cast iron braiser, the only one like it on the website, is a Saab. I believe that's what it's called. And they're super expensive. So I try to use this one more. We're going to add this to my skillet. We're just going to brown it. Then we're going to throw all this good stuff in there. I'm not going to save this for gravy because it's going to be 5 or 6 hours before that gets done. That's a little too long for this flour to sit out since it had raw meat in it, okay? We're going to grab our garlic and throw it back in here and just start picking up a few things while we're waiting on this to brown. I'm going to bring this over here. We'll add those ingredients in just a minute. This handy dandy tool that we use a lot is called a pigtail because it's got a little curl on the end and it's super sharp. Pigtail jacquard food flipper. If you go online and get them, if you get this one, it's about $16, $17, $18, something like that. But you can get a combo where you get this size and one a little longer. But if you go and you buy the cheaper ones, the hook is a lot fatter and not as sharp. It's more like for stuff outside. So be careful trying to get a different brand. You really need to get the jacquard if you want one like mine. I love this thing. All right, we're going to flip it and add this butter to it. Be good. And I got it up on high. It's just taking it a minute to brown. And once you get that side browned, I'm not going to be browning the edges of it. I mean, you could take the time to pick it up and brown all the edges if you want to, but I'm not. This is a chuck roast. It's got a lot of fat in it already, so I'm not too worried about having to sear it all the way. We're going to put some garlic powder in it. 5 or 6 shakes of Worcestershire. I'm going to use beef stock. In my recipe, I say chicken, but I mean, of course, if you're making beef, you can use beef. You can use what you got. I think first time I made this, all I had was chicken. I'm going to go ahead and pour this first cup in here just so my butter don't get too brown. So 2 cups of beef stock. Now you're going to add all your goodies. Your onion. This is the celery and the garlic. Carrots. That looks good. And our fresh herbs from the garden. So that's rosemary and basil from the garden. It's going to be really good. Now you're just going to put a lid on it, cover it on the lowest temperature you're going to cook it. The way to make a very good tender roast is never boil it, always simmer it. So we're going to turn it all the way to low. And it's going to cook about 5 hours. It could be done in 4 hours since it's a smaller roast, but you want it fork tender, okay? So when that meat starts to be so tender that it's just falling apart, when you put a fork in it, then it's ready, and that's when we're going to strain our broth, okay? So it looks really good. It's going to be delicious, and we will see you in a few hours when it is fork tender. Our roast is ready, and I turned it off about an hour ago. So now what we're going to do is we're going to strain these herbs and stuff out of here and then add our regular vegetables and let them cook. And this is very delicious gravy. It has reduced in here with this roast. And so you are going to, it's pretty salty right now. But once you add your carrots and your potatoes that you're going to cook, all that salt will go into those vegetables. And then it won't be too salty. And it'll be like a really rich, sticky, hopefully, gravy by the time it's done. And I think I'll make some biscuits to go with it. So just strain it, and then we're going to add our vegetables to it. And it's going to be delish. And you could eat these carrots. I might eat them in a minute. Let me try one. That's so good. Delish. So we're just going to chop them up and lay them in here. Starch on that potatoes. Starchy. Go ahead and slice that one again. And I made quite a few because even if we don't have a whole lot of meat on this, because it's fatty, we can eat leftovers. We can have the vegetables as leftovers with another dinner. So I went ahead and cut up a few. Matter of fact, I wonder if I ought to just take this out and cook these vegetables. I might just do that because it's good and done. It has served its purpose in this broth. And then we'll add it back, okay? But let's cook these a little while first. And like I said, I'm making more vegetables so that we can have them for another dinner later in the week. Because they are good, good, good. All right, let's try to make sure all of them are down in the broth so they all get the flavor that they need. And then we're going to pepper them. I'm going to lightly salt them, okay? Lightly. Then we're going to lay that rust right on top of them. We're going to put this on the stove top, and we're going to let it cook until these are tender. And I wanted this reduced. I didn't want it, I don't want to add more broth to it. I want it to be good and thick and just delicious. All right. So we'll just lay this right on top like that. And that way all of the vegetables are in the broth. Get the lid on it, get it back over here, turn it back on, and we're going to have a good supper. So we will see y'all in a little while. We are ready. My beans didn't get done in time, so I just threw a piece of corn in here and let it steam with my vegetables on the top. So we're going to take that corn off and put some butter on it right quick. Right quick. I just happen to have some butter right here. Boy, it smells so good, and we made us some biscuits. I didn't make gorgeous biscuits, but they're biscuits. You just want them to sop up that good gravy in the bottom. And that's what we're going to do with them. I love roast with biscuits. The gravy of a roast. Got me some new dippers. I put them on the website, and boy, I love them. Have a wood handle, and they're silicone, and there's a whole set. You can see them over there in that thing. And man, I love them. Let me get a big, nice piece of roast. See, it's falling apart done. And that's how I like it. I got lots of veggies. Get me some carrots from this side. And then I am going to take a biscuit and open it up right here and pour some gravy on top of it. That's how I'm going to eat mine. And this is very reduced, and it is good stuff. Talk about a good supper. That's a good supper. All right. And I get the smallest piece of corn. Lord, that's a big plate to eat. But I think I can do it, y'all. How y'all like that? Does that look like a good supper or what? It's time to dig in. That is some good roast. Just let it sit on the stove and cook until it's good and tender like that. And it's got a nice, thick broth in it, which is really a gravy by the time you're done. Mmm. That roast is melting in your mouth. Just disintegrates. That's how I like it. Just delicious. Not stringy, not tough, not hard to chew. Absolutely divine. And the vegetables are just slathered in the gravy. And the biscuits just bring it right over the top. Mmm. Corn on the cob. You could slice a tomato if you wanted to, or some cucumbers. Mmm. That's the best supper I've had in a while. My kids will be so jealous. They love a roast, a good one. Y'all have a wonderful day, and we will see you next time on Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like our mamas did. Bye, y'all. Love ya.